Today I kind of had a bit of a disappointment. There's a, a small handful of influencers on YouTube. They're Black influencers, and they're people whose work I've always admired quite a bit because I think they're really great in their chosen niches for the types of things that they choose to focus on. And even though I can tell that there's certain specific things, not a lot, but a few small things that they either don't know or don't understand, or maybe just don't respect, I don't know. But even though I know there's just a few small things lacking with each of these influencers, I still really think they're knocking the ball out of the park and doing phenomenal in other areas. These are people who I like, as far as their content, okay? Even those a few specific things are lacking, and it tends to be things which is lacking in the commentary of most people of our race as a whole, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So anyway, what happened today, because normally with influencers, they leave an email and they ask their viewers to email them if you have any ideas for content that you would like to see. And naturally, being the person I am, as a person who comes from a background of having education in advanced sciences and who's also studied religion for many years as well, and metaphysical things, I have quite a few ideas to share about those subjects and how it relates to Judaism, how it relates to Christianity, and how those things have been hijacked, okay? And so I just shared my ideas because that's how these channels work. They ask viewers to send them an email if they have any ideas for content. So that's what I was doing with this small number of influencers who have huge followings with thousands of people in it, right? So what happened today is that one of them, who happens to be of the Christian faith, the others are not, but the one who responded to me today, she's of the Christian faith, and she was telling me that she emailed me several times asking me not to send her emails about content ideas because, again, that's what these YouTube influencers typically do. They ask you to email them if you have ideas. That's what I was doing, like everybody else. But for me, she decided to single me out and to claim she asked me several times not to email her. But I guess what she doesn't know and doesn't understand is that with modern email systems, any person can do a keyword search and pull up every single message they've ever shared with you the entire time you've been in communication, as long as it's not deleted. And this woman, she has literally never contacted me at any point in time ever. I would have been so honored if she had written back to me about my ideas in a constructive, with a constructive attitude. I would have been so honored if she had emailed me back about one of my ideas. And I thought she would have been the more understanding one because she's the only one in the group who's a Christian. So I thought she would have understood and mentally comprehended what I was saying better than the others, right? But she didn't. She took offense to it, and she's the only one who's a Christian with a so-called online ministry. And I was just totally floored and blown away. I would expect that from white people who are pagans. I would expect that from people in the street who pretend to be Christian. I would expect that from Black people who are pagans or Indians who are pagans. I didn't expect this from her. And she's the only one in the group I was contacting as a Christian. She's the last one who I thought would do that to me. This woman, anyone can go in her email and do a keyword search and see that she never emailed me. I never received any communications from her. If I did, I would have responded. She cannot show no transcripts in her email of her emailing me about my ideas and me responding. And see, she's not the first person to do that. She's not the first person to do that, because I've never had a response from this woman before, and I admire her work. I would have really been flattered if she had said something, anything back to me. But instead she contacted me today to claim that she contacted me before, when in fact she never did. I sat here hoping for a day when one of them might respond, and I thought it would be her because she's the Christian one. She's never responded to any of my ideas, and this is what people do. You email your ideas to the show. So for some weird reason, it's okay for other people to send ideas to her show, but it's not okay for me to send ideas to her show, even though I admire her work and I like her. I'm not trying to be on camera on anybody's channel. I really don't like being on camera all that much on my own channel. Maybe someday that might change, maybe not. But the fact of the matter is, this is a show, okay? And she's not the first person to do some shit like that. Like, there's a person in a town that I live in locally, and I'm not going to say who the person is, but one individual, she decided to label what I was saying to her about current events, not past events, not theories and hopes and wishes and fantasy. She took what I was saying about current events happening now as an offense. And so she decided to say that because she didn't like what I said about current events, she labeled what I was saying as harassment. And then when I had a problem with something that needed to be resolved, she jumped on my ass the minute she realized something was wrong and it was her fault. And she had ignored it for a whole year. And with this one individual, I told her, hey, I have not said anything to you about these specific current events in more than a week. So why are you coming to me claiming that I'm still bringing it up when I haven't said anything to you about it in more than a week, and I have the time and date stamp receipts to prove it? I said, you said you didn't want me mentioning current events to you because you didn't like what I had to say about it, so I stopped. So why are you coming to me a whole week later claiming that I'm still bringing it up when I can prove that I'm not? Not only that, like on top of that, the problem I was contacting the one individual about, it was something that was totally unrelated to what I was discussing on a personal level. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with a long-standing problem that I just wanted to fix, get out of the way, and move on. Because again, with this other individual who's a local person I'm not going to name, this is someone who does good work. This is someone whose work I admire. It's just that this other individual is not Black, but it's still somebody whose work I admire. And then the minute I said one thing about current events that this other individual didn't like, boom. I mean, going in on me with guns blazing, claiming I was still bringing stuff up when in fact I hadn't said shit about it in a full week. But that's in the past. Really, it's not really in the past, even though with people who do things like that, they might try to make it seem like you've made amends. They might try to make it seem like you can just move on. But in reality, a lot of times you really can't, because they'll still keep working continuously to tear you down behind your back. It's like with individuals who operate that way, you never have any real resolution. You never have a real end to the problem, because it's like you never really had a chance to see who they really are, It's almost like it's almost like having a bad boyfriend. It's almost like having a bad husband, where you keep thinking about how good everything was when you first met. You keep thinking about how kind and how amazing you thought they were, but then you stay locked into this toxic relationship long term, hoping and wishing for that better part of the relationship at the beginning that wasn't real. That was never real. And that's almost kind of like how it has felt dealing with some of the people whose work I've admired the most. Some of these Black influencers, and even a local white person who I'm not going to name. That's someone whose work I admired. This is someone I wanted to be friendly to and treat like a friend. And the minute I said one thing this person didn't like, then they're saying, "Oh, you're just, you keep sending me things that I don't want to hear." And I'm like, whoa, where are you coming from with this? And I already quit bringing it up a long time ago. I'm like, where are you coming from with this? Just because I'm trying to resolve a different problem with you. It's one, like some individuals, they just, I don't know, they just like to fight dirty. And it's like once they decide that they want to go in on you, it's never over. It's never over. They always in somebody's ear permanently with some bullshit. It just doesn't stop. And they don't care how many years of your life, how many months of your life they steal away from you doing stuff like that. They don't care. They just keep doing it. I'm not trying to present myself as having an image that's ultra perfect and flawless. I'm not doing that. I'm not ultra perfect. I'm not flawless. But one thing I've noticed is that with people who like to conduct their business, their personal business or their commerce related or spiritual business, whatever, in a dirty way, people who really don't like to fight fair when they decide that they just want to go tear into your ass. This is like a common thing. It's a common thing. And I just, and it's not just the pagans, it's the church too. And I'm just looking at it like, damn, I'm like, after all these fucking years, when am I going to find even one person who really understands what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and is actually going to really be in support of that and for me? Not just somebody who's smiling in my face and on some bullshit and trying to do something else. When am I going to find even one person or a group of people who I know for a fact is just really fully in support of what I'm trying to do in a positive way? Because these other people whose work I admire, who don't respect me, who really just, some individuals, they're like really influential, but then they teaching people shit like saying that the earth is flat. You have people like some individuals like that who have a huge following. They're famous, they're rich, they got money, they're popular, but yet they're on YouTube teaching people that the earth is flat. There are some individuals who are like that. And that's not my scene. It's not my scene. There are some people, I really want to be an advocate for them. Like with Kyrie Irving, for instance. Kyrie Irving, he's not a part of the issue I'm talking about. He's not. But he's an example of someone whose work I would really love to promote and be in support of. But I can't, because he was on YouTube teaching people that the earth was flat. And he's rich, he's popular, he's got a huge following. But yet he online teaching people that the earth is flat. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, our ancestors who built the pyramids in North and South America, they were phenomenal in astrophysics and engineering. They even had knowledge that human beings are descended from primates. They also had knowledge that all ethnic groups have a monkey that looks like them. Our ancestors, they had all of this knowledge. But then here we have people like Kyrie Irving, who's rich, popular, got a huge following, and then they come along romanticizing ignorance, romanticizing underachievement, and on top of that, teaching things that is not correct on a scientific level or even a social, ecological level, not correct. You have some individuals who do that. And, Kyrie Irving, even though people look at him and they think he's a pure African, he's actually half Sioux Indian. He's dark-skinned, he's got kinky African hair, and his mother's a full-blooded Sioux woman from a Sioux Indian reservation. And, that his mother was beaten down socially and financially, and they took him and his sister away from his mom at the reservation. This is something that's been done to a lot of indigenous women. And so this basketball player, this famous NBA player, I would definitely love to be in support of him as a half Sioux man with a mother from a Sioux reservation who people may easily mistaken for being a pure African just because he's dark-skinned and nappy-headed and looks like an African. Most people are not going to look at him and think, oh, wow, you're half Sioux with a mom from a reservation. No. An indigenous person like Kyrie Irving, I would love to be in support of his message and his stance for his American heritage and his American culture. As someone descended from the Asiatic Indians and also from the Black pyramid builders of the Americas. But I can't even be in support of him in the way I want to because, what if by some weird, strange, freak incident I end up actually getting a following of more than 100 people? What if for some weird, strange reason that actually happens someday? Then they'll look at Kyrie Irving and be like, oh, well, he's teaching people that the earth is flat. And so this is what I mean when I say that there are some individuals I really want to be in support of them, but then I'm looking like, do you have to be teaching this other thing? Do you have to be teaching people that the earth is flat? Do you have to be teaching people that we have a surplus of women without the need for mass murdering men and mass incarcerating men on both sides of the ocean? Do you have to be teaching people that stuff? Do you have to, I look at certain things and I'm like, do you really have to be teaching that? Because I'm looking at, I'm like, I want to support you. I want to support my people. I want to support my message, but why are you doing this other thing? Why is it that every time you have a panel discussion, the women always have to outnumber the men so that you can kind of reinforce this brainwashing that you don't need to be mass murdering men and mass incarcerating them to be sure that everybody's forced to share, to be sure that the men whose hormonal makeup is too overactive is guaranteed to have more females? I'm like, why do the rest of us have to suffer and be limited excessively to make life more comfortable for individuals of other races who's too hormonally overactive and got way too many kids and who really vastly outnumbers us and lies and says we're doing it? Why should we have to suffer to make things more comfortable with them so they can be sure that they're surrounded by females at all times and maybe a tiny bit less likely to do unsavory things? Why should we be forced to live like that for people of our own race who like it? They lavish in it. It's fun. But yet others of us, we have sons, we have brothers, we have daughters suffering with this shit for the sake of somebody else's fun, for the sake of somebody else's luxury and lavish living and being surrounded by more females to serve them and get discarded. Why should we have to do that? Like, these are some of the things I look at. I'm like, I want to support my people, but I look at certain specific things they promote sometimes, and I'm like, why you gotta be promoting that with everybody else? And I'm like, the climate is destabilizing. We got ecosystems collapsing. Why do you have to? Some influencers, I'm looking at, I'm like, why you gotta misrepresent us, teaching people that the earth is flat, teaching people that everybody else gotta be uncomfortable and gotta live with the mass incarceration of men and the mass murder of men just to make things more comfortable for somebody else's fun, somebody else's luxury, and somebody else's son or husband whose hormonal makeup is way too high because they have a lot of incest in their family, in their neighborhood. Why the rest of us gotta live like that? And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying my family's perfect. I'm saying, why the brainwashing? Why do we have to select that as the best way and the only way forward for us? And like I said, at this point, I'm probably just not going to contact any Black influencers whose work I admire. Because like I said, there's certain specific things they teach. I know they're missing something, and I know they're trying to flip everything in a direction to get what they want, even though we have more than enough proof that what they want it don't work, and it's not compatible with modern life, and it's not compatible with where our planet is heading now. I know what they're trying to do, and I really want to be in support of them, but that is just so incredibly nasty to say literally nothing to me while I'm trying to send in ideas like other viewers, other fans, but then they want to single me out and try to talk to me like as if I'm the scum of the earth. In the first and only conversation, I'm like, do you really got to do that? So at this point, I'm just not going to say anything to any Black influencers. And I'm so disappointed.